Bonjour à tous and welcome to Learn French with Vincent. This is Unité 7, leçon F. And in this lesson, we'll see a really important thing, and it's le conditionnel présent. So basically the conditionnel is, as in English, this conditional form, so would, could, okay? But of course, as in English, we've got different tenses for that. And the first one that we will see, so the more classic tense that we usually use, when we talk about the conditionnel, it's the present form. Okay, so let's start now. Le conditionnel présent. So in this lesson, we'll see first la formation, so the way to build it, to make it, and then, of course, l'emploi, so when you should use this conditionnel présent form, okay? So let's first start, if that's okay with you, with the formation, the way to make it. So you'll see that it's quite easy in a way, and normally that's the reason why we introduce it right after the future tense. So if you didn't see the video regarding the future tense, I definitely advise you to do it because it will be more clear for you. So it's Unit 6, I don't remember the lesson, but check Unit 6, and then le futur, and you'll find it, okay? Because the way we construct this conditionnel présent is the same way that we construct the future, okay? The only difference will be the endings, all right? So let's take the first example that we've got here. Parler belongs to the first group of verbs. Remember, we've got 3 in French. And the first group of verb is ending with er, like here. Okay, so these verbs are regular. So that's a good news, and normally that's the reason why we start with them. So you don't have to change your verb. So parler is like that. You will keep it like that, and based on this form, after that you will add the endings, okay? And for je, the ending will be AIS, okay? So you don't need to modify your infinitive form. The basic form is like that, it goes there, and right after you just add the ending AIS, and you get je parlerai, all right? So it's quite simple. Second group, so verbs ending with ER. Be careful, not all the verbs ending with ER, but a quite decent amount of them belongs to the second group, but then still it will be quite easy because it is exactly the same way. You don't modify your infinitive form, you just keep it like that, all right? And after that, you add your ending. Je finirai. So AIS. Je finirai. Alright, so it's quite easy. You keep your basic form, your infinitive form, and right after, you just put the ending. Okay? For the third group of verbs, so of course, we will have some exceptions. So we'll see that a bit later in this lesson. But still, the main rule is if it's ending like lire to read, okay, with this well, the idea is that you will take this away, as we quite usually do in French, okay, and after that you will add your ending. Je lirai. All right, so the rule goes like, if you've got final then you take it away. You've got your form here, L-I-R, and then you add your ending, A-I-S, je lirai, okay? So you've got 3 forms here, and they're actually the, well, conditional présent forms. Je parlerai, je finirai, je lirai, okay? Parler is to talk or to speak, finir to finish or to end, lire to read, okay? So the endings now. So we saw that previously that, well, the ending for je will be, the ending for je will be AIS, okay? The ending for tu will be, well, the same, AIS. The ending for il, elle will be AIT, okay? The good news is that even if we write them differently, like you see here, we pronounce them the same way. And it goes like e, e, e. Alright? So as usual in French, what you pronounce, well, it's not that difficult in a way, but then remember how to write them. AIS for je, AIS for tu, AIT for il, elle. So now let's see nous, and nous goes like I-O-N-S, okay, and it should be pronounced ion. Remember, final S is not pronounced. Ion, okay. Then for vous, it goes like I-E-Z, and it goes like ye, okay. Remember when you get this I before, it goes like ye, okay, ye. So that's the reason why we had this ion here, and then ye. All right, and the last one, so even if it looks scary because you've got three vowels here and then nt, okay, A-I-E-N-T, so as usual, that's the way you should write it, but then phonetically the good news is that you pronounce it e. So the same way that we had here, e here, e, and then e. Okay, so let's pronounce them, e, yon, ye, e. So if you look carefully, you've got only three phonetical pronunciation. The first one is here and here. It's the same. So it's e. After that, we've got this yon. And after that, we've got this ye. All right? So let's see now for parler. Parler, it's to speak or to talk. Okay, so je parlerai. Tu parlerais, il parlerait, elle parlerait, nous parlerions, vous parleriez, il parlerait, elle parlerait. Second example, choisir from the second group of verbs. Choisir is to choose. Je choisirais, tu choisirais, il choisirait, elle choisirait, nous choisirions, vous choisiriez, il choisirait, elle choisirait. Okay, not that difficult. And the last example, so for the third group, it's écrire. Écrire is to write. Okay, so same rule, if you remember, the example was with lire, to read, but then it's exactly the same rule. So if you look carefully, it's ending with this e. Okay, so you take it away, and after that you put the ending. J'écrirai. Tu écrirais, il écrirait, elle écrirait, nous écririons, vous écririez, ils écriraient, elles écriraient. All right, so it's not that difficult anyway. But of course, we've got some exceptions, as I said in the beginning. So the idea for these exceptions is that the verb will change. So endings will be the same, so that's one good news. So all the endings that we saw previously, well, they will be the same, but then you get to remember the way the verb will change. So if you saw, that's the reason why I spoke about the future lesson. If you saw the future lesson and you remember the way these verbs are changing for the future, the good news is that they will be changing the same way. So être will become sœur. All right? And then after that, you will have to put the endings. Je serai. All right? So you will keep this sœur all the time for your conjugation. And after that, you will add all the endings that we saw. Okay? Avoir will become or. Same thing here. After that, you will add all the endings. So, tu aurais. Aller will become ir. And you'll get il irait, elle irait. Faire will become faire. Nous ferions. Savoir will become saur. Vous sauriez. Voir will become ver. Il verrait, elle verrait. Okay, so let's see them one more time. So, être, to be, je serais. Avoir, to have, tu aurais. Aller, to go, il irait, elle irait. Faire, to do, nous ferions. Savoir, to know, vous sauriez. Voir, to see, il verrait, elle verrait. All right, so one more list of exceptions. Pouvoir will become pour. Je pourrais. Vouloir will become voudre. Tu voudrais. Pleuvoir will become pleuvre. Il pleuvrait. Devoir will become devre. Nous devrions. Venir will become viendre. Vous viendriez. Courir will become court. Il courrait, elle courrait. All right, so let's see them one more time. Pouvoir, can, je pourrais. Vouloir, to want, tu voudrais. Pleuvoir, to rain, il pleuvrait. Devoir, to have to, nous devrions. Venir, to come, vous viendriez. Courir, to run, il courrait, elle courrait. All right, so it was the first thing regarding the conditionnel présent, and then as I said regarding the fact that it's quite close to the future, so the important thing is to remember that the endings for the future are AI, AS, A, ONS, EZ, ONT. Okay, but then for the conditionnel présent, if you remember them, it was AIS, AIS, AIT, IONS, IEZ, AIENT. So to be totally honest, if you think about that, because basically we construct these two tenses the same way, okay, so the endings here and here will be the only way to make the difference between the future and the conditional. So it's quite important to really remember them by heart. Okay, so remember futur, AI, AS, A, ONS, EZ, ONT, but then conditionnel présent, AIS, AIS, AIT, IONS, IEZ, AIENT. Okay? And now let's see when we should use this conditionnel présent, because that's the most important thing. The first situation would be to express a desire or a wish, exprimer un désir ou un souhait. Okay? J'aimerais être en vacances. Aimer, to like or to love. Okay? And here you've got the conditionnel form. Être, to be. En vacances, on vacation. Holidays. J'aimerais être en vacances. Second use will be if you want to donner un conseil, to give an advice. Vous devriez apprendre le français. Okay, devoir, to have to, but then in that case when you say vous devriez, you should. That would be the more correct translation. Vous devriez apprendre, apprendre is to learn, le français, French. And then if you want to ask something politely, that's the tense you should definitely use, and especially if you go in a coffee restaurant or if you go in a shop and you want to ask for something, then use this conditional form. I mean, trust me, it's quite important. Okay? Je voudrais un café, s'il vous plaît. Okay? Je voudrais un café, s'il vous plaît. Okay? So let's read them one more time. J'aimerais être en vacances. Vous devriez apprendre le français. Je voudrais un café, s'il vous plaît. Another use of this conditionnel présent is if you want to construct a sentence, like in English, for instance, with this if. Okay? So if in French is si. And then the rule is quite strict in French. If you start with this if, si, then it should be followed by the imparfait form. We didn't see this form yet. It will come in the next lesson or in the next unit, sorry. So no stress about that. It's just an example, but it's just for you to know that if you want to construct this if structure, then it should be followed by imparfait. Then comes le conditionnel. Okay, so let's take one example. Si j'avais le temps, je ferais du sport. Okay, so si j'avais le temps, so if I had, it's the same in English. You put this I had. Si j'avais le temps, so time, je ferais. Remember, it was faire, to do, but then at the conditionnel form, du sport. Okay. Another example. Si j'étais riche, so riche, rich, était, it's to be, remember. Je voyagerais, voyager is to travel, autour du monde, around the world. Oops. And then the last one. Si elle était là, so être, to be, là, here, nous irions, so remember it was to go, aller, and it becomes ir, irions, nous promener. Okay, so se promener, to have a walk. Okay, that's it. I hope it was clear. Have a great day. The YouTube channel is here and the website is here and it's waiting for you. Bye bye. Bonjour à tous and welcome to Learn French with Vincent, and this is Unité 7, leçon P. And in this lesson, we'll discover together le conditionnel passé. So, maybe some of you might think that it's a bit early to introduce this conditionnel passé form because normally it comes a bit later, but still I think that we've been introduced this conditionnel présent form in this unit, so it's still warm, and I still have the feeling, and I have the feeling that normally it should be okay for avoir and être, so at the conditionnel présent. That's the reason why I think it might be useful to introduce this conditionnel passé form, especially because it's not that difficult if you master the conditionnel présent form and then the passé composé. I mean by that these participe passé forms, okay? So we'll see how it goes. And then the first thing that we'll see in this lesson is l'utilisation. Okay, so when do we use this conditionnel passé form? And the second thing that we'll work on is la formation, so the way we make it or we build it. Okay, so let's start with the first one. So utilisation. Okay, and then the first use that we will have for this conditionnel passé, it's to express regrets. Exprimer les regrets, exprimer des regrets. Okay, so that's the first, well, one of the first use, let's say. The second one would be une information non confirmée. So if you're looking at the news, for instance, and then they want to talk about something that happened, but then they don't have all the elements to confirm this information. So normally in that case, they just use this conditionnel passé form, okay? And then something, I mean the last one would be imaginer des situations irréelles dans le passé. So you want to imagine some situations that, well, technically are not real and they take place in the past. So that's the use of le conditionnel passé. Okay, so first one, exprimer des regrets here. Second use, information non confirmée. And then the last one, imaginer des situations irréelles dans le passé. Okay? And now let's see how we make this conditionnel passé. All right? So, first example I wanted to put is je mangerai au restaurant. Okay? So this sentence, if you remember, we saw that in, well, these units anyway, when we introduced this conditionnel présent form, okay? So you've got the verb is manger, je mangerai au restaurant. And then, if you look at the conditionnel passé, well, it will go like j'aurais mangé au restaurant. Okay? Second example, tu regarderais la télévision. Tu aurais regardé la télévision. Okay? So same thing here. The first one is at the conditionnel présent form. Second one, conditionnel passé form. And then, il irait au travail would become il serait allé au travail. All right. So if you look carefully, then what you can see? I mean, you can see first that it is composed. So you've got two parts. The first one here is avoir. Then you've got what we called and what we saw previously for the passé composé form. This is participe passé, okay, past participle. Here the same way, have a look. It's avoir and then it's the past participle, regardez. And here we've got être and here we've got the past participle. So maybe if you want to construct this conditionnel passé form, you will have first to use avoir, like we saw, but then avoir should be at the conditionnel présent form. Okay? Then you will put after this participe passé form that we saw previously when we introduced the passé composé, because that's the second part that we use for the passé composé as well. Alright, so first, avoir at the conditionnel présent form plus participe passé, past participle, then you will get your conditionnel passé form. Okay? But we saw as well that in some cases we'll use être, but then same thing, it should be at the conditionnel présent form. Whoops! Plus participe passé, so it doesn't change, and it will give you conditionnel passé. Okay, so you get to remember that in most of the cases, you will use avoir. Okay, so if you're not sure, if you've got a doubt, then put avoir. Okay, if you know that it should be constructed with être, then put être, of course. Okay, in both cases, remember that they should be at the conditionnel présent form. All right, so we'll see. So the verbs that will require être will be the following: aller, to go; arriver, to arrive; descendre, to go down; devenir, to become; entrer, to enter, to come in, to go in; monter, to go up; mourir, to die; naître, born; partir, to leave; rester, to stay; retourner, to return; sortir, to go out; tomber, to fall; venir, to come. Okay, so all these verbs will require être for this conditionnel passé form. And then if you remember what we've been seeing for the passé composé, well, they are exactly the same verbs that will require être, whether for the passé composé or then for the conditionnel passé. And the good news is that we've got other composed tenses in French, and this list will be always the same. So it means that this list of verbs that will require être will be the same for all these composed tenses. Okay? So remember, one more time, aller, arriver, descendre, devenir, entrer, monter, mourir, naître, partir, rester, retourner, sortir, tomber, venir. Okay, so remember, you will have to use être with these verbs. Okay, so as I said, être, but then for the conditionnel passé, être should be conjugated at the conditionnel présent. All right, so let's see that. But then the other group of verbs that will require all the time être will be what we call les verbes réfléchis, so reflexive verbs, okay? And they usually goes like se regarder, okay? Se regarder, s'appeler, se présenter. So they will use être for this conditional passé form, but then, well, I mean, they are exactly the same verbs, you know, as we saw for this passé composé, so it is always the same rule, okay? So, se regarder, s'appeler, se présenter, so all the reflexive verbs will require être at the conditional passé. Okay, so let's see now how avoir and être, how they go at the conditionnel présent, because that's the first part that you will have to put. So it's j'aurais, tu aurais, il aurait, elle aurait, nous aurions, vous auriez, ils auraient, elles auraient. Okay, so that's what you will use in most of the cases. Okay, so let's see that. Let's see it one more time. J'aurais, remember, final S not pronounced. Tu aurais, same thing here, final S not pronounced. Il aurait, elle aurait, final T not pronounced. Nous aurions, liaison here, this little link. Nous aurions, final S not pronounced. Vous auriez, liaison here, and then EZ will go like E. Vous auriez, okay, and the last one. Ils auraient, so liaison here. Elles auraient. And then look, if you've got A-I-E-N-T, then phonetically it goes like aurait. Okay, so phonetically you've got aurait here, aurait, aurait, and here as well, aurait. Okay, so it's quite easy to produce orally. And then être, je serais, tu serais, il serait, elle serait, nous serions, vous seriez, il serait, elle serait. Okay, so we'll see that one more time. Je serais, same thing here, final S not pronounced. Tu serais, final S not pronounced. Il serait, final T not pronounced. Elle serait. Nous serions, final S not pronounced. Vous seriez. So here when you've got this EZ at the end, then you get the sound E, seriez. So vous seriez, okay? And the last one, il serait, A-I-E-N-T here, phonetically it goes like E, okay? Serait, elle serait. So same thing here, we've got serait here, phonetically I mean, serait, serait, and serait. So the same sound. Okay? And then for the second part that we use, so what we call le participe passé. So the thing is that for the first group of verbs, so normally the first group of verbs, we talk about the verbs ending at the infinitive form with er. Okay, so these verbs are quite easy because if you've got, well, have a look at the first example that I put, and it's parler, parler to speak, to talk. So you can see that it ends with er here. It's here, okay? So this is the infinitive form, so the basic form of the verb, okay? And then the participe passé, so this past participle, will be like that, accent aigu. So parler, all right? Then the verb regarder, here, will follow the same rule. Regarder, like that, with the accent aigu. And here, when we talk about the first group of verbs, we are really talking about a lot of verbs, okay? So many verbs will follow this simple rule, okay? So the second part that you will use for this conditional passé will be written like that if the verb is belonging to the first group of verb. Even the verb aller. Aller, to go, remember, it's a tricky verb normally when you conjugate it, especially at the present form. But for this past participle form, it is quite easy because it goes like A, L, L, E, accent aigu. So it does follow the same rule, this ER become e, like that. Okay? Second group of verb, so regular verbs, not all the IR verbs, okay? Quite easy as well. Let's take choisir. Choisir is to choose, okay? IR, like that, and it will become I. Finir, to finish or to end, IR, and it will become I. Unir, to unite, IR, and it will become I. So it's quite easy, okay? Choisir, choisi, finir, fini, unir, uni. So of course, we've got exceptions because we're talking about the third group of verbs, and then this one is, well, it's tricky. I mean, we've got to be honest with that. The first advice I would give you is to try to remember them by heart, okay? And I've been making a video about these tricky participes passés, okay? But then here we can have a look at them. So subgroups here, talking about the one ending with U, okay? So for example, connaître, to know, will become connu, okay? Voir, to see, will become vu, okay? Ending with I, partir, will become parti. Partir is to leave. Rire, to laugh, will become ri, okay? The one ending with ite, like here, écrire, to write, écrit. Dire, to say, dire. Sorry, dit. Getting tired. And then es, mettre, will become mis. Mettre means to put. Prendre, to take, will become pris. Okay? So here you've got the past participle, so les participes passés of these verbs here, okay? So we'll take one example. The example will be parler. Parler is to talk or to speak, okay? So we will have at the conditionnel passé form, if you remember, so first part here is avoir at the conditionnel présent, then here we've got the participe passé of parler, and it will give you j'aurais parlé, tu aurais parlé, il aurait parlé, elle aurait parlé, nous aurions parlé, vous auriez parlé, ils auraient parlé, elles auraient parlé. Okay, so I wanted to put this et like that in another color just to tell you that if you've got a normal structure like that, so you've got the subject and then you've got the verb, okay, nothing in between, so subject, verb, then if you use avoir, exactly the same rule as we saw for the passé composé, so if you use avoir here, you won't have to modify your participe passé. So it will change, it won't change, sorry, it will stay like a accent aigu, okay? Even if it's the singular, the plural, or then the feminine. Okay, it doesn't change, so it will stay like parler. Alright? But if you use être, like here, il serait allé, okay? So remember, aller was belonging to this group of verbs that require être, okay, to construct this conditionnel passé, all right? Il serait allé. So in that case, you can see that at the end, it's allé like that without anything after. But then, if we look at the feminine form, elle serait allée, you will have to add this at the end, okay? Remember, in most of the cases, when you have to add something, it's the mark of the feminine. Okay, so elle serait allée, okay? But then phonetically it doesn't exist, all right? So it's aller here and then aller here, the way you pronounce it. But if you want to write correctly, you should put it. And then the same thing for the plural. We will have to put the plural, and then the mark of the plural, the thing that we've got to add at the end, will be S. The good news, as well, you don't pronounce it. as usual in French, you write it, you don't pronounce it. Okay, so it doesn't change. It's aller here, aller, and then aller. Okay, phonetically the same thing, but remember it's just a question of, well, being correct if you want to write it. Okay, and then logically, feminine plural, then you should add a mark of the feminine, as we had previously, and S mark of the plural. And guess what? You don't pronounce it. Okay, so phonetically it's aller, 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 and aller. All right, but you need to write them. Okay, so let's see now the full thing. So, je serais allé, okay, and then if you want to make the liaison, it would be more beautiful. Je serais allé. Tu serais allé. Il serait allé. Elle serait allée. Nous serions allés. Vous seriez allé. Il serait allé. Elle serait allée. All right, so that's it. And then one example with these reflexive verbs that we saw, and then, well, I just wanted to use this se présenter. Okay, so je me serais présenté. Tu te serais présenté. Il se serait présenté. Elle se serait présentée. Nous nous serions présentés. Vous vous seriez présenté. Il se serait présenté. Elle se serait présentée. All right, so if it's not really clear yet for these reflexive verbs, I mean the way you should conjugate them, I definitely advise you to check the lesson regarding these reflexive verbs, because I've been making one video regarding that, so it would be easier for you to understand the way we construct it, especially in that case, why we put this je, me, tu, te, etc. Okay? All right, so remember, the last thing that you should remember before ending this lesson is that when you construct this conditionnel passé, so in most of the cases you will have to use avoir at the conditional present form, then the participe passé, and it will give you conditional passé. Okay? In some exceptions, so we saw the list of verbs, you should really try to remember them by heart. I know it's not easy, but you know, try your best. And then the reflexive verbs, okay? So for these exceptions, we will use être at the conditional present form, then the participe passé, and it will give you this conditional passé form. Okay, I hope it was clear. youtube.com/imagier, that's the place where you can find all the videos, and then the website is here, imagier.net. Have a great day. Bye bye.